Well, I have meditated and gotten peace and discovered the meaning of the universe, but it doesn't really work to learn language or math or computer programming. So, after trying lots of charms, here's a little lucky I Ching turtle, or meditating, the bottom line is if you really want to learn something, you're going to have to try harder. And that's pretty much the first lesson of the Coursera course that I am doing this video for, which is learning how to learn. And one of the first things that we learn is that you're going to have to bite off some chunks. And I visualize kind of a shark. You just have to get in there and start forming some chunks by, in a way, parroting all the information that you get. You have to sit and study. And because that's difficult, you might try just diving in and reviewing all the materials. In fact, reviewing the materials is very important for the first 2 minutes. Then you want to set a timer. If you don't have the cute little Pomodoro tomato, you can still use the timer on your microwave or anything that you have to get yourself to sit down for 25 minutes and really look at all the material. And by doing so, you can begin to form informational, and at the end of that period, you want to test yourself. And another thing that I found teaching English in various countries is you don't have to test yourself only, test somebody else. When I would teach, I would pass the test at the end of our review to my student and tell them, test me. And it's amazing how much you can learn when you're testing somebody else. And I believe that's because in a stress-free environment, you are looking in a very concentrated way at the answer to see if the other person gets it right. So if you can self-test, just look up and review the material, but if you have somebody else, test each other, because you might find that being able to test somebody else really helps you focus on whether or not they get the right answer, and somehow it really helps you learn it. Another thing I want to bring up here is when you're testing yourself. My husband worked in advertising in Japan long ago, and advertising people frequently talk about a thing called explain it to mom. And as a mom, I can attest that we want very simple explanations for things. And when you have to take your material and explain it to your mom, or just symbolically any friend who might not be really great at that subject, it kind of forces you to go step by step by step. So I would just like to add that little piece of information to things that helped me and that really relate to that part of the material, where you find some way to test yourself. Then in that way you can form chunks. And I'll say chunks are a little bit like my display case over here, which are little boxes, and they hold all kinds of information. Some are paintings of friends that I've done. Some are things that I got. This is from Mexico. This is a sculpture that my son did. And some of them are just silly, like I have these little trinkets and I set it up to be kind of a visual joke about Einstein's comment that the universe doesn't play dice. And those chunks all represent bits of our memory. And at the same time, they integrate. And they can represent your mind and different interests you have, and those things are forming in your mind all the time. Unlike my shelf, though, our minds get to interleave these things, and that would be like a deck of cards or leaves of a book that you get to in a sense, interweave. And they can pick up from each other. And I think that after a certain age, we all know that is just so useful in life, that you can draw on one experience to help you with another experience. For example, skills that you learn in one language, you can really bring to another language and even to another subject. And another topic I would like to address is the topic of Interstellen. It's a German word, so it's takes a minute for me to remember. And one of the things I like to think of with Interstellen, could you bring me that garbage can? I just want to show it to them. Okay, and it's funny because I immediately thought of this. It's something that all mothers and pet owners try, because our babies and our pets like to get in the garbage at a certain age. And everybody has that moment of watching the dog or their child carrying around some disgusting piece of, raw meat or whatever it is that they found from the garbage. And that really reminded me of Interstellen, because what happens is then we all buy this little garbage can, and this has happened to many mothers, because this little garbage can has a lid that you can open by stepping on the pedal. And we therefore think, oh, the babies and the pets can't figure that out. Well, babies and pets have no such concept. So what they do instead is they walk right over it. And in the case of your dog, he will use his nose, or your baby will just walk over and they will fling it open. And they are not stopped by the idea that this mechanism must be used at all. And so I thought that was a very good example of Interstellen. But another one is a funny story of my husband's brother, who had a problem with kids walking through his front lawn, and he put up 2 posts in his front yard and a gate with a big lock on it, and it stopped the problem of kids walking through his yard, in spite of the fact that it was actually open widely on either end. So he had no problem. He would just go up his driveway, and he could, go out the other side as well. And it was so effective psychologically, however, that even the postman told him, well, I can't deliver mail with this big fence and lock on the door. And my brother-in-law had to go to him and explain, well, you see, it's still really open on this side and that side. And all he had to do was go around the post and go right to his mailbox. And those are the main topics, and I am actually using this to kind of test myself too, so that's another good way. Make a video about what you've learned. And the class has been really helpful, and I am hoping to use it on many things, such as painting and learning a language, and most especially, coming up in my life, some computer programming. And so thank you very much to all the students and staff.